Hello, everyone. This is Opus Night, and you have entered Night Vision. And tonight we have Destin, as in destiny. So we have this beautiful man with us who is going to tell us about his fantasy writing.
All right. Yep.
Hello, how are you tonight?
I'm doing fine. How about you?
Say hello to everyone.
Well, hello, everybody. How you doing?
For everyone joining us. Okay. Do you have your book with you, love?
Yes. I have to go get it. Just give me 1 second. It's right behind me.
It's okay.
All right. All right. I'm gonna start off with my fantasy book, which is Tavern.
Oh, lovely.
It's kind of like a D&D adventure following an orc protagonist who's a tavern keep, who finds out a plot to destroy a city.
Nice.
So he gathers his resources as a guild master to try to defend the city, and meets a man with a very unfortunate past that's kind of caught in between.
Beautiful.
And it's very about friendship and learning to overcome past traumas such as bullying and PTSD and family problems such as growing up because the main antagonist has autism and he's kind of shunned by his dad for it, and his dad tried to mold him into something that he's not meant to be. So
well, that fits in perfectly with tonight's show. I usually will have specific topics that I kind of touch on, and then we go right off the rails. How's that?
That sounds correct.
That's just how it rolls here.
Yeah.
And what I wanted to touch on was, I know that a lot of authors have issues with them being alone or them feeling insecure about their work. And even when they're writing characters, that's one of the big character traits that seems to create a dilemma for most people. Did you see anything of the sort when you were writing your novel?
Absolutely. The crippling self-doubt was one of the biggest things that I had to go across when I was writing. And because I myself have an anxiety disorder, it kind of bleeds through my main character through a lot of his inner thought processes. Because a lot of the time he doesn't believe that he can do something, even though he is super capable. He's super capable and really intelligent, but sometimes he loses track of that. He gets better as the book progresses, but it never really goes away. Just like how I am progressing with my anxiety disorder, but it never truly goes away.
Well, honey, I have to say, my daughter deals with a lot of medical issues, and we have a lot of medical issues within our family. Anxiety being a big right there on the front. And I have to say, you're doing an amazing job, and I am extremely proud of you, and I thank you so much for coming on.
Thank you.
And spending your time with us, okay?
Yeah, thank you so much.
That. I want you to be as relaxed, and we can talk about anything, okay?
Yeah, definitely.
Now, in your characters, who is your favorite character?
Oh, it's kind of a toss-up to my main character, Zell, and the villain. He's a villain towards the end of the book, named Lord Von Gommel, because he's just so complex. He's a villain that he has a point. He has a point where I can't exactly disagree with, and I made it on purpose because I want people to think what cost it takes to watch your civilization just kind of crumble, and you have to live through that. Your civilization is part of history now, and you're still alive, and he can't actually he wants to bring back his people in the glory days, but he can't really do that in the world that he's in. So I kind of feel for the villain.
Mm-hmm.
And like that's why he's one of my favorite characters, because he's just so complex. And it kind of like talks about like what's the cost of past civilizations have given to where you are now today. Like what bones are you living on?
Now, how do you see it? Do you see it as any kind of reflection to nowadays, with the world having so much turmoil and concern and just everything coming to the forefront of years of not only oppression, but you also have all different sectors
Yeah.
of minorities and majorities fighting one another to be heard. Now,
Yeah.
do you find that in writing that your voice is your main effort and way of dealing with everything and being able to reach like the masses and let people know you're here, and you know what I mean? Like,
Absolutely.
everyone fights for validity in life, and I think the most beautiful thing is being able to speak up and say, hello, here I am.
Yeah.
And I mean, just myself, I mean, I know a lot of people will call me nuts. Hey, I'll ride that train. This is Orpheus. Orpheus is my muse, whom I love dearly. I write dark literature,
Yeah.
and I make sure that the biggest implementation of my characters is that their morality and their themselves, that they're not self-deprecating, that they are conveying a clear message of whatever moral fiber they have, or how they portray the world, or what insights they have, or that they're learning. And with your characters, do you find that you're on a learning curve with them?
Yeah, definitely. Like I like to like experiment on, my biggest thing is character development.
Mm-hmm.
Like though my like writing is more cheery and upbeat, there is depth in how I drew my characters and their morality and what they have to like go through. I will put my characters through the ringer to find out what makes them tick. Like I have been put through the ringer, like when in my like daily life.
Mm-hmm.
So I want to like convey that like just because you're going through some things doesn't mean there's not like good on the other side.
Mm-hmm.
And there's also not like, and there's always a lesson with learning with to lean on people and to understand, to talk about it. It's important to have that like that discussion.
Oh yeah, the free exchange. As human beings, I feel that's what separates us from the animals, is that we are always learning. We are always progressing. We have the sense of knowing, of having empathy and sympathy, and knowing when we're wrong and correcting what, is, leading our lives in whatever direction, that we feel, okay, this was okay here, but this is not okay here, or this is not the time for this. And, life is a journey, and people are forever evolving and learning. And that's a beautiful thing, and with your characters, when you were writing them out, do you have a hard time picking the names?
Not really. Usually the names come to me pretty quickly, surprisingly enough. It's usually the descriptions though that like I'm like, okay, what do they look like? What can I get inspired from with their like they will match with the name. I usually have their personality kind of like set in stone too when I
Mm-hmm.
have their names. It's like because like, oh, this name feels like this, so this person part is like this.
Now, what was the hardest part of writing it?
Oh, it would have to be like getting all the small details right. For me, I like I kind of go by the seat of my pants. Like, I just kind of go, and like I've got to keep a good detailed list of what I'm like saying in other chapters and stuff to make sure I don't like conflict. Even then, my editor be like, "Hey, this doesn't make sense. You said this in the last chapter," and I'm like, "Oh, I did." So it's all about like,
but it needed to be stated twice.
yeah, like I
gave you that comeback. There you go.
But like for me, it's important to like
that.
get those details right. That's the hardest part for me, at least, get those details right.
Now, did you try self-editing, or was it something that you were immediate like, I'm not touching this with a 10-foot pole?
I have tried self-editing, and then I realized I'm not good at it. So I'm like, I'll do some
honesty. That's beautiful.
Yeah, like I'm aware, I'm self-aware that my editing skills are subpar. So I was like, I need someone else to look at this to make sure, like I would do like some light editing as I like go through like my second draft, but I lived the heavy lifting to the professionals.
Now, on your ending, how long did it take you to come up to sum it all up? Ooh. Or were you one of those authors that, see, I write the ending first. Ooh. I am someone who will read a book, the ending. I'll flip to the end, I'll read the last chapter, and I've already got a sense of, okay, I know where this is going. And I love the element of surprise when I'm wrong. I love when I'm wrong. Trust me, I am one of those people.
That's interesting, because I usually have an idea of where I want the ending to be, but sometimes it changes. So I kind of leave it kind of loose at first. But I do have endings aren't incredibly difficult for me, but like I got to make sure I got all the loose threads, because I'm a fantasy writer, and loose threads in fantasy is like everywhere. You just have to be like, grab them all and just throw them in a bucket.
Now, in your fantasy, in the fantasy world, when you're creating a fantasy world, because like I'm a fiction writer, I write dark literature, and it's definitely different than writing fantasy. And in creating realms, how, you know, the possibilities are endless. How do you kind of take this broad spectrum of thought and focus it down to, okay, this is what I'm going to do? Do you write it out? Do you have kind of a preconceived notion before you actually start writing, or do you jump in and say, let's roll with this?
I'm a kind of a jump in, let's roll with this kind of guy. I do have specific ideas on the world itself, like, and like a detailed like outline for the world itself. And I have a map, which helps tremendously. Like, now having a map is like, I know where everything is.
Where have you been my whole life?
Well, yeah. So now I have a map. I have a clear-cut map. And then the way I tend to do my world building, I like, for Tavern in particular, even in my science fiction, I do this. I start off in a single place, like a city, one land, one planet, and then spread out. Because I feel like if you start traveling the world too early, you'll get caught up in all the world building and you'll confuse yourself. So start off small and then like build your world from there, and like have people talk about the world. Be like, oh, this person's from this place. This person's from this place. This family is from this place. And it will draw and make it feel bigger, even though you're only in one place for right now. So that's how I learned how to world build, because I feel a lot of people, a lot of fellow writers get caught up going from place to place, and then like get overwhelmed because they're like, I don't know how the people in this place act. I don't know how the people in this place act. And then like,
The
I'm like,
characters are running amok.
yeah. And it's like, ooh, that's dangerous. Like, keep it small, digestible pieces. And then work your way through.
Definitely. Now, when you're actually creating atmosphere in the fantasy realm, how do you build that?
Oh, I'm huge into making like environments look a certain way. And even to the point that some people are like, whoa, you get too detailed. And I learned to like cut it down in my later books. But in my first fantasy book, I explained a lot of things that was like in the room, because I'm like, I want you to know how this room looks exactly. Like, and like, I feel that's important for fantasy, for you to realize that you are in a different world. Especially in my fantasy where magic is abundant and everyone has it.
Mm-hmm.
Like, everyone is born with a magic. And like, it might not be as like, oh, I can throw fireballs. It could just be like, I'm very good at making like tools or something. Everyone has like a natural ability, and I wanted to show that in the world itself. That the world itself even is like insanely magical. Like even the animals has these magical powers.
Now, do you capture the magic as far as you personally? Are you writing yourself in there? And if you could, what magical power would you want to have?
The main character is kind of like me. He's a little bit more hot-headed because he's an orc, and like a lot more like aggressive. But he's a lot like me, so he has a plant-based power where he can accelerate the plant life around him. And like that's always been something I've like been into, because I'm kind of crunchy granola. Like I'm like very kind of like to the earth kind of person. And like I wanted to capture that in a character, that like he's a very like to the earth kind of person, but he didn't really know that at first, because he was so underdeveloped. His magic kind of came out as looking like a death magic. It was like, because he would rot everything around him, and like he was kind of shunned for that, because everyone thought because he lived in a very abundant forest, and having someone with rot magic is not something you will want in a forest environment. So
He was a surprised himself.
Yeah. So as he learned and got healthier away from the city, he learned that his magic is not rot based, is a life based one. So it was kind of like how I learned about myself as growing with me. So that's how I kind of translated that over. So yeah, he's kind of like me. My main character's kind of like me.
Do you ever have those moments where you're like, wow, this is too real?
Yes.
Like you can feel it. It becomes visceral. It's like, oh my God, I need to stop.
One of my beta readers. Yeah, one of my beta readers I've known since I was in the first grade. Mm-hmm. She read my book, and she will have to stop sometimes from chapter to chapter, because it was so close to me. It was like it almost feels like I'm in your skin, and it freaks me out.
Oh, that's awesome! I love that.
Yeah.
That's just a beautiful writing trait. That is wonderful, especially for readers.
Yeah.
I am an avid reader, and I want to feel you. I want to feel your pain. I want to feel the sympathy. I want to know why you're twitching over here when the whole rest of the room doesn't notice, because you have something going on behind. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
It's kind of like the masks we wear.
Yeah, exactly.
And when you can capture that, I mean, that's the essence of a story, of a great story.
I feel like if you can't connect with the characters on some personal level, mm-hmm. that like you have to like reevaluate that character, because like the characters are part of you.
Oh yeah,
and like
definitely.
you have to show, as uncomfortable as it may feel, like it's gonna feel uncomfortable sometimes. That like you go like you'll be like, oh man, that's too spot on with me. How I'm feeling right now, that's a little uncomfortable.
Well, now I want to switch over and ask you, do you have a little poetic kind of history as far as the characters when you were writing them? Do you find yourself falling prey? Like with myself, I tend to do it where if my book has Italian, and I'm Italian, and my family's Italian, and the roots are there, and they're so strong that I have to kind of like, at certain times, my characters are so real to me that it's like when I'm writing dialogue, I'm literally having a conversation with them. And my neighbors, they think I'm a riot. Like they will be like, oh God, I'll just see them walking past and they're like, no, she's not. Here she goes again. And I'm just like, hey, hold on, I'll be down, kind of thing. But it definitely becomes real.
Yeah, sometimes like you
And
have
I
to
would
like
imagine
dial it back.
I imagine in a fantasy world, especially one of your making, that has to feel even more dominating over, kind of breaking yourself from that, like the phone ringing, or someone knocking at the door. How do you feel displaced, or is it something you can just be like, that doesn't exist right now, you're not in my world?
I do feel a little bit displaced, so when I'm in that groove, like when you're in that flow where like you're in the world, you're having this conversation, things are happening, and like it's just so powerful. And I think that it only gotten stronger since I started playing Dungeons and Dragons, and I have to act these characters out. So now it's in my writing, so it's just hard to just break. Like I'm like, sometimes like my phone be ringing, and I'll be like, can't do that right now, I'm in orc mode. Like, sorry.
I always say I'm wearing the hat of the Dark Queen. You'll find me in the forest.
Exactly. Like
it's wonderful though. I think the biggest, most important thing for authors, more than anyone else, for their own sake, be you.
Yes.
Be authentic. Whomever you are, wherever you are, whatever you think, be you. Let those characters breathe and live. And you want people to digest that world, to enter into your imagination. And you want them, when they break away, to want to come back. Not once, not twice, but in the future, you want them to read everything you have going on. And because of that, I know with myself, when I have a reader that wants to speak with me, and they're like, they'll come up and they'll have a conversation, and I'll get recognized somewhere, and you're having lunch with me, you're joining the table in the conversation. It's not a hi, how you doing? No. Anyone, do not walk up to me unless you got a free day, because I'm gonna work you. Like, I'm gonna sit there and have a beautiful conversation with you, because my own self, I need to know you. You want to know about me, I want to know about you. I want to know where you come from. I want to know what your thoughts are. How do you feel about the characters? Am I portraying them in a way that makes you feel something for them? Now, do you find with readers that they try to, do you engage them?
Oh, absolutely. I feel like if you come to me telling me that you read my book, first of all, I'm gonna praise the ground you stand on, because I love you, and like now you're my best friend. I'm sorry, I don't make the rules. Oh,
You got
but after that, I'm gonna pick your brain. What you like about it? What you didn't like about it? Um, how do you feel about this character? This character? I especially love when I have an LGBT representation in my book,
Mhm.
and I love when someone comes to me and be like, "They're my favorite two couple. I want more of them. Give me more." And I'm like, "Don't worry, I got you, fam." Like you'll see them a lot.
Right now. What was that name you said?
You got like I have you. Like you don't worry about it. Like I love reader interaction. I love having to talk to them and them being like, this is what I like. Even if they're like, oh, this is a 3-star book. I
Mhm.
still think I think this could be better. And I'm like, as long as you're really respectful about it, don't be like, oh man, you suck. Cause I'm like, oh. But like if you're really respectful about it, I like to know about it. I would like to be like a lot of people have actually looked at my book, gave it a 3 stars, and then talked to me, read it over, and up the stars because they're like, oh.
Mhm. And that is a beautiful point. That is such a poignant, beautiful point.
Yeah.
Because I have had instances where a friend of mine who is an author, and she has been an author for probably 30 years.
Uh-huh.
And she's seen all sides of, the publishing world. And that is one of her biggest things, is that readers are put off and afraid to actually engage you,
Yeah.
in conversation, or she'll see someone hiding behind something, and I have to laugh, because I am like, I said, well, I know people are shy. I understand that there's all different reasons, but I'm that type of person that I want to know what you think. I truly value your opinion,
Mm-hmm.
and when it comes to your character traits in your novel,
Mm-hmm.
do you ever find that they have a hard time talking to someone else or engaging someone else?
Yeah, it actually depends on the character, especially the character of my second book, my second fantasy book. He has a lot of the traits. Like, well, Zell has a lot of my like more outward traits in terms of like I'm kind of like calculating and very logical, and sometimes I like working my like thoughts through. My second character, Tor, um, he has huge social anxiety, and he has a hard time talking with people, and he messes up a lot. Like, and I made it clear that like socializing isn't his strong suit, and it wasn't my strong suit until I like learned. I practiced and practiced and practiced, and that's something he's learning. So that's something like a character trait that I feel like a lot of people are going to connect to, especially readers. Because like you said, a lot of readers act like authors are like, oh, you can't talk to them; they're dangerous. And I'm like, we're not. We're really not. We like talking about our stuff. I promise. I can talk to you about my stuff all day. Like,
We
like,
love that. We
like the
love that.
moment someone says something good about my book, all nerves are gone. I'm like, you're my best friend. We're talking forever now. I'm sorry, but not sorry because you like my book. So
You started this. That's what
yeah,
you tell them. You started this.
you started this friendship.
Now I'm the one that's gonna follow you home and take you.
Yeah, like now we're having coffee
This is my
weekly.
newest character.
Yeah, exactly.
Now, how long did it take you to decide that, what, I'm going to write a book?
I've always wanted to. The thing is, I've been wanting to since I was in high school. I may not look it, but I'm way out of high school now. But I've always wanted to. But my problem was I could never finish anything. I would always stop around like chapter 5 or 6 and then rewrite the whole thing. It wasn't until I kind of got like, after college, I got kind of sick.
Mm-hmm.
And I started like to really evaluate, I want to get this done. I want to do this. This is something I want to do. So I'll put forward the effort to write. I wrote a trilogy. It was bad. I'm never releasing that. But it started that like catalyst of me sitting down and writing a novel. Because I needed to sit down, no matter how bad it was, to write it down. And that was always my biggest problem. Like, I feel like a lot of people, even now, I get to a lot of people like, how do you finish your first novel? I don't know how to do it. What's the secret? And I'm like, write it down. First draft is going to be bad regardless. You can fix a bad draft. You can't fix one that's not there.
Mm-hmm. Definitely.
So I was like, write it down. I don't care how bad it looks to you, because reading back, you might like it.
Definitely.
Yeah, like a lot of people don't realize. Like, I have a friend who just started his first novel. He's almost like 2 or 3 chapters being done.
Mm-hmm.
We're gonna try to finish it up with him this week, because I'm like, we're gonna sit down and finish it with you. Because I sit down and write with my buddies, fairly newer writers. I will sit down and write with you, because I feel like you need that encouragement, and you can ask me questions on the spot. So if you're a new writer, I will sit down and write with you. We don't have you don't even have to have your like mic on. You don't have to have your video on. I will sit down and write with you.
But we love you. I am dead serious. That is the most beautiful thought when it comes to readers, you know, and actually other writers or readers who want to become writers. You know, it's very, very hard to focus an idea to put down on paper.
Mm-hmm.
But once you're past that, your ideas are not going anywhere. They've been germinating forever. And the characters know who they are, where they're going, what they're doing. Mm-hmm. You just got to give them room. Get them on the paper.
Yep.
And hearing that, you know, you fighting through anxiety and you know, having to deal with life in general, and you going and helping other people, you know, that is amazing, because that right there is the foundation that all of us need, because everyone starts somewhere, and everyone needs that just cheering section. And just personally, you know, I applaud you for that. I truly do, because there are so many wannabe authors who never give themselves the credit.
Yeah, they never give themselves a chance. Yeah, they never give themselves a chance. Yeah. Like, I've seen so many people be like, I can't do this. It's impossible for me to do this. And I'm like, no, it's not. You just think that way because you done got it in your head that this is an impossible task, when it's not. There's plenty of people that has done it. And a lot of people be like, oh, my idea isn't original. So what? Like, my
thing is, oh, it is original, because nobody is new. And you
exactly.
So your words are original. I mean, I don't care who, if you have written the best book in the world, okay? Your voice is your voice. No one can take that from you. No one can change that. No one can copy that, you know, and there are stories within, people live magnificent lives. Their lives in the day-to-day, you know, are miraculous miracles in a lot of ways, you know, and when they share a story, they are truly sharing a part of themselves, you know? And for myself, it just makes me feel like a better person and feel like, you know, you don't have to be the best writer in the world. That's not the point of writing. The point of writing is to be able to explain how you see things so that maybe you can inspire someone else who can inspire someone else and so forth. And everyone grows in leaps and bounds in things that in insights that they never seen before.
Yeah.
You know, writing is an incredibly impactful thing. And it truly, I'm one of those people that, you know, it should be cherished. You know, when someone hands me something they've written, you know, I love it, because I'm like, okay, we're going through this, and I want to see what you wrote, and I want to know you. I want to, and what on what planet this idea that there are rules to writing.
I don't know where these people get this from.
Sit here day in and day out, and I hear that so often, and it's like, you know, there is no authority when it comes to writing. What I like is, you know, there are certain elements you will not like, or this one will not like. There are beautiful parts in there that I will love, you know, and creativity is not something you can bottle and put on a shelf. It does not work like that any more than your intellect. No, sorry, I'm losing my hat. I'm getting fired up. Watch it. But it just, you know, the story is original. The stories that you write, you know, your messages are as important as everyone else's, you know, and to me, it's writing is an incredible avenue to learning about yourself, to learning about other people, to building the world that we exist in and loving it. You know, and yes, there's elements that, you know, I write dark literature. And people, when they meet me, they're like, you don't write dark literature. How is that possible? You're a nice person. And I'm like, well, I'm nice till I'm not. You know, like,
yeah, like
everyone has the light, the dark, the good, the bad. The last time I checked, that's being human. You know? So if one of us can do something, then God bless you. So can everybody else.
Yeah.
You didn't write the book on how to write the book. Like, no, I'm not giving you that. I'm not doing it.
Yeah. And I do think that a lot of people got in their head that, like, oh, because this author did something like this, I just can't do that anymore. And I'm like,
yeah.
Oh, like, for example, like, a lot of people are like, oh, dragons are in, like, Game of Thrones. I can't do dragons anymore. And I'm like, no, you can still do dragons. Like, just because, like, one person made such and such famous doesn't mean that, like, that's off the table forever now. Like, if you did that, you wouldn't be able to have any story concepts.
Exactly. I mean, the entirety of the book and the integrity of the book depends on your focus, your thoughts, your mind, your feelings, your expression. And that's the beauty of it.
Yeah, and don't feel like you need to copy someone to be successful.
Exactly.
In the, like, especially in the, like, I see a lot of these people going in when they're, like, marketing a book or, like, starting a book, and they're like, I have to do this specific genre this way because that's good with the market, and I can't do anything else. And I'm like, no, write what you want to read and what you feel is right, because you're going to find your audience. You're going to find the people that like your stuff.
Oh, definitely.
Don't try to pigeonhole yourself to a certain, like, standard because, like, that's good for the market, or this has to work because, like, I'm trying to, like, make a big business. I'm trying to make it big. Like, if you're gonna make it big, you're gonna make it big on your own. your own
Amen.
work.
That is true. And you're going to do it being yourself.
Yes.
The more authentic you are, they're going to see. They're going to see right through you in an instant. You know, and part of character building is making the authenticity of the character, you know, authenticating them. That's their personalities, the world you're delivering to everyone, the readers, you know, to even the beta readers. I've had beta readers that are like, at certain points they'll ask me, they'll say, well, how do you tell someone when a story isn't going the right way? Or I know where they think they were going, but they seriously missed the boat. And I'm like, tell them, you know, I don't care if you don't want to be in the room, write them a note. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Let them know, because sometimes the biggest part of someone being able to learn how to develop something is someone who has developed it, you know, already. And now you put your touch on it. You put your beauty into the mix. That's what makes that you.
Like with that, like LGBTQ character I have in my book, I had a LGBTQ beta reader be like, hey, make this more direct. Make it clear that these two characters are together. Because like I thought I was being clear enough, but she was like, no, be clear about it. No one wants to see a vague character relationship. Make it clear. And I made it clear, and it came out a whole lot better. And I wouldn't have known if she didn't tell me. And I'm 100% grateful for that.
And you loved them, didn't you? You were just like, oh my God. But, you know, and we speak of writer's block a lot of times. And my biggest thing about writer's block is your character, if it's not working, go back to the beginning. The first thought you had of that character, what did you change of that character? Or what did you do directionally? What situation did you put them in that altered this character? Because the character itself is not the problem. It's that you are trying to send them somewhere or change something that they don't know where you want them to go.
Yeah.
You know? And that to me is the elements that make a great story, you know, is when you can concisely know this character is this way. This is how they would think. This is how they would feel. This is who they are, you know, and when you can convey that to a reader and they can come back and say, I love this character. That is the essence of what we do. That is what we do.
Yeah, that's what we do.
Beautiful. That is, you know,
that's like encapsulates being a writer, like in like the purest form. It's like right there.
That's the essence. And I feel like I need, you know, I joked with a friend of mine, and she's written for years, and she laughed at me because she was like, she said, you speak of this essence of writing all the time. She said, why don't you, you know, write some kind of merchandising about the essence of writing? And I was like, I said, because then it's the same as me telling people that, you know, how to do it. And
yeah,
I can tell you how I do it. I'm not telling you how to do you.
Exactly.
It doesn't work like that.
That's like, oh my God. Like I have a Discord channel that I like follow, like fan fiction writers and stuff. And one of the common things is they'd be like, give me advice on this day. And I'm like, I can't, because I'm not you. I can't do that. I literally cannot be like, this is the right way your character should be going, because I don't know where you're going. And they get like a lot of writers get frustrated at that. They're like, why can't you just tell me what to like do? And I'm like, because I'm not you. Like, that's not like what I do is not gonna be anywhere close to what you're gonna you might do.
Mm-hmm.
And
like my character is not going to skip through the woods. I can promise you that. Okay, but I know that someone else, if they were writing certain things that I have written, I actually years ago wrote or worked with a really good friend of mine. We became great friends, and we were polar opposite on everything until one day I got a bug in my butt, and I was sitting there writing something, and he's leaning over my shoulder and he's looking, and he was like, "Oh my God, what the hell are you writing?" And then he like grabbed it and started reading it, and he was like, he's like, I don't even know how to feel about you. He's like, "I'm kind of scared right now." And that was the first time I was like, "I love you." That's what I was going for.
You're like, you're terrified? Great.
Yes, yes. And, you know, that to me, I know a lot of people would be, well, your character's too dark, or, you know, your character, you're always killing off characters and this and that. How do you do that? I do it well. I enjoy it. That is what I do. And I love every element of it. You know, and like I said, he is one of my biggest supporters, and it's beautiful because when he reads something that I've written, even if it's poetry, because I write poetry, novels, and then short stories, and with the poetry, he's like, "I don't know why I thought it would be different." He said, I was expecting butterflies." He goes, I should have known it would have been dragonflies.
It's like he went in with like, "Oh yeah, it could be as dark as those novels."
Yes.
Then, oh yes, it is.
And I told him, I said, you know, that's me. If you know, if you were to meet someone like Agatha Christie, you know, and you're in the room, you kind of wonder if there's going to be a murder there. You know, there's a mystery, some element of surprise. Come on, you're not surprised, you know. But that seems to be the biggest thing that I hear is, "That's not you. That's not how you act. That's not who you are." Really?
He's like,
"You don't know who I am?"
Yeah, like,
"Have you met me?"
Like, people be like, I'm very nice. I'm a very nice person. Like, and I'm very apologetic, and I'm very like, but my characters aren't. My characters sometimes are straight barbarian and savage at times. Like, one of my favorite characters had like this really barbaric moment in my third book. And like, people have read it and been like, "Oh my God, I thought you were sweet." And I'm like, "What do you mean? I am."
And that's what I'm saying. When you put yourself into specific characters, whether it's their character traits, there's times that they will always look back at the author and be like, "What was going on in their world?" You know what I mean? And I love that. It, to me, that is the most fun that I have, because my personality, I'm going to mess with you. I'm definitely, you know, I need to be toyed with, but I have a ball, you know, learning that kind of stuff from people, because, you know, I want to be in your mind. I want to know how you think, what you wear, why do you like this color? Is there a story behind it? Because even with the show, that's the whole premise behind the show. Mm-hmm. I love the element of surprise when someone is like, "Oh my God," that eureka moment, you know, where I didn't know I felt this way, or I didn't think this way. And that's incredible, because readers love to hear that. They want to know you. They want to know all your quirks and your likes and dislikes, and, you know, and that's part of the relationship. Now, do you find that when someone comes to you and they're needing help, what is usually what they need help with directionally?
Usually it's the direction of their plot.
Okay.
I have a lot of people, they have a lot of characters, a lot of world building done. And I'm like, yes, get into the book. And they'll just like, okay, and then they won't do it. They'll be like, they'll just like write 100 words and be like, okay, I'm done. And I'm like, next idea. And I'm like, no, stop. You have all this world building and all these characters, write them. And they're like,
got to do something. They
yeah.
can't stand there and stare at you.
And it's just so infuriating. And I was just like, just write them down. And they'd be like, no. And I'm like,
oh yeah.
It's like, I'm like, talk to me about them. Talk to me where you want the plot to go. And they'll be like, I don't know what to do. I'm like, fire me some ideas. What comes to your head first? You made this character. I see this character. You wrote a detailed list about this character. What are they doing right now? And they'd be like, I don't know. I'm like, you do know.
Where are they going? Who do they know? What are they going to accomplish when they get there? What is the premise behind them being there? Like, you know, you go through this kind of protocol in your mind of, okay, this character, what kind of dastardly deeds are they going to do today? That's pretty much sums mine up. You know, I have Orpheus. He's my main man. And let me tell you, I can put him in predicaments because I do cinematics with him. And I have a ball. And that's the biggest thing. You need to love what you do. And you need to bring that love to these characters. They need to speak volumes about who they are, what they like, what their mission is, you know, everything. And that's the beauty in writing. Like, it's, you know, it's magical. It truly is.
And I feel like a lot of people psych themselves out.
Oh yeah.
When it comes to like starting the book. Like I call it like a lot of them get through chapter 1 just fine. But when that chapter 2 hits, people start realizing, I'm writing a book and I don't know what I want to do with it. And I'm like, just keep writing like you were writing chapter 1. Keep pushing the story forward the best way you can. Mm-hmm. And they be like, no, I'm going to stop here and rewrite it. Like, I'm like, it's not that the first chapter is bad and that you can't complete the second chapter. It's that you made a roadblock for yourself. Mm-hmm. Thus, you made a roadblock for your characters. Because you know what you want to put your characters through. I've seen a lot of these people have detailed lists on what they want their characters to be at the end goal. You know where they want to go. You can do it. It's just that you put a roadblock on yourself just to be like, oh, it's like you're getting a little bit out of your comfort zone once you get out of chapter 1. Mm-hmm. This is why I tell everyone, once you hit chapter 4 or 5, that is what going to make or break you as a writer. Because like now you're in the thick of it. It's no longer just an idea in your head.
No, you have to own the responsibility you have to them. You created them. You know, and I personally am, you know, I have characters that I can't imagine. I love them so much at certain points that I can't imagine not developing them enough that I have written this whole story and this world around them and everything, and then I'm just going to leave them hanging. I'm not a cliffhanger kind of person.
Yeah. Like at that point, I don't need care to go.
If they jump off the cliff. let them go to the edge. You know what I mean? Bring me there. Tell me something. Don't leave me guessing. I've never been fond of that.
You're absolutely correct, though. Like it comes to a point where you just like can't see yourself not knowing the end of their story.
Yeah.
Like you just absolutely cannot see it. Like you be like, I want this. I want to know. I want to see how they end, or like what's their ending, because like it's so ingrained into you. Just like, and like you have to get to that point.
And I think that's part of the developing characters in the beginning that scares new writers. I really do. I think that they create a character, and then it's not that they don't know where they want to go with them. I think that they have the character going, but then they somehow feel blocked in knowing what else. Okay, what else can I make them do? What other trouble can I get them in? Well, you kind of, when you're building a world, you need to build that world before. I always feel personally the world should be built before the character, because entering a character into no world is giving them no direction. So
at least a blank.
Yeah, kind of like putting, you know, the chicken before the egg. It doesn't make sense. I mean, the egg before the chicken. It doesn't make sense to me. You kind of you got to have the world. And what am I trying to capture in this world and say about this world? And then what do the characters do and say? And you go and you learn, and that world just broadens and develops, you know. And that's the magic of it to me.
That is absolutely correct. Like I do have I have ideas for characters, right? But I don't write them down until they have a world with them. Like I had I have a bunch of characters that I had that I just transfer over from my post-apo world to my sci-fi world, and I had to repurpose a lot of them to make them feel more in line with those with the sci-fi. And like it's important to like know the setting of your book, because that's where your person's gonna live. And like not knowing the world
is them spinning around in a circle, and that's the writer's block. You're just like, okay, where are they going? I don't know where I'm going. Where am I going? What am I doing? You know, and it stresses that person out more than not knowing, but they're not showing and developing where they need to go. You know, it's basically like dropping them in the woods and saying, okay, find a road. You know, it's hard. I mean, it could work that way, but it doesn't.
Yeah, like it's a possibility that it could happen, but most likely it's not.
Exactly. And it, you know, it's world building to me is an amazing thing, because a lot of times it will tell you off of where they live and what, you know, where they've come from, what character traits they are going to develop. And what, you know, if they have parents that were drinkers and they were exposed to a lot of things and they had a lot of different elements, you know, unsavory elements in their life, then it can propel a story, the second book, the third book, and so forth, you know. And we've talked about that on the show before. And that's it, that the importance of world creating gives them, you know, their sense of being, their sense of purpose, everything. Now, with your characters, what is a character that we already know your protagonist is the one that is your favorite. So your antagonist, what is he?
He's interesting.
He or she, I should say, he or she.
Yeah, it's kind of like two antagonists. One is kind of like the misguided assassin that he kind of turns a good leaf as the story goes on. But the other is the antagonist's father, who's just a terrible person. He's one of those people that like I honestly believe there are some people that are just not good people, and he is one of them. And he got in his head that he deserves to have this love and affection from someone, and he doesn't. He doesn't deserve to have it. So he tries to be like, yes, I'll show you how powerful I am and how desirable I am by forcing things to go to my will. And I'm like, and by result, he treats his son like he's an object. Like he's a tool to get the love of his life back. Even though it was him that lost the love in the life in the first place. And he's just not a good person. And I like to talk on that too. Because a lot of people go around and be like, I want to redeem my villain. And I'm like, some people you just can't.
Yeah, they're not redeemable. It's that is a very important point to make. Why is redemption always have to exist? And because to some people it just doesn't.
Yeah, for some people they lose that right, or it's just not a possibility because they're just not a good person. They don't want to turn that leaf over. They're stuck in their ways. And they think that what their way is better. And you can't redeem that. My character does not, my protagonist does not try with him. He tries with his son and what works. But he doesn't try with the father because the father is just, he's too far gone.
Right.
And I feel like it's important to draw those lines. And I explore that in a second, but when I switch over to the son as the main protagonist for that book, is that he has to wrap his head around, my father's not a good person, but I want to be.
Mm-hmm.
And he has to learn to cut his father off.
Now, see, there's the moral. There you can lead a horse to water, but you can't make them drink. You can't make people. Yes, I do truly believe that people can change, but they have to want to change. You're not pulling them out of anything. They need to pull themselves.
Exactly.
And with characters, it's the same way.
If they're not to put the effort in, you can't make them.
Exactly.
You just can't make them. And I wanted to make that clear because I've gone as I'm like that. As a person, I for so long I tried to redeem toxic people. I will put myself through toxic situations because I feel like underneath I can change them. I can help them. But I've recently come to the conclusion that I can't always do that. And it's not my job. I can't save everyone, but I can talk to the people that want to be talked to.
Definitely. And honey, I hate to tell you, but you did a beautiful job.
Thank you. Oh,
I am so glad that you came on and that we had the honor of having you join us.
I enjoyed this a lot.
And I hope that you come back and see us again.
I would definitely, because this is amazing.
Can you show us that beautiful book again?
All right, here's Tavern.
Oh, that is lovely.
Oh, and let me show you my science fiction one, because I don't think I got to show you science fiction one.
Okay.
This is Dust Mountain Blues.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, this one's the basic. This if there's any tagline I can make for this book, it's mutant hillbillies in space. If that sounds interesting to you, check it out. Both are available in Audible.
Okay.
And Amazon, and I'm working on hardcovers for both of them. So
now, where can readers get in touch with you?
Oh, you can find me on Twitter at Sir Buffalo Knight. Okay. You can find me on Facebook as Author DJ Munden, and on Instagram as Author DJ Munden, and on TikTok at Author DJ Munden.
Well, it's been an honor, and I've had a great time.
I had a great time. Oh my God, I enjoy picking your brain. It's great.
Oh, I love it. We got meat for lunch. It's on.
Yeah.
It's on.
Yeah, it's on now. I would love to just sit down and pick your brain and we can just talk about things.
Oh, that's all right. I'll bring my chopsticks and we'll have a ball. We'll have lunch and just sit there and chitty chat for the next probably 3 weeks. It's all because you have no idea. I'm very, very versed in conversation.
That's always nice to have.
I'm one of those people. Shut up. Well, honey, you have a beautiful night. And readers and anyone watching, thank you for joining us on Night Vision. Have a beautiful night. Bye-bye, love.
Bye-bye.